This is one of the key questions, of course, which Europe has to try and solve. How to get industry to invest more in R&D. And I think you can find part of an answer maybe if you compare countries in Europe. There are a few countries where industry is investing heavily. Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, not even the UK. But those countries are heavy spenders of R&D, and so it's a combination of factors, I think, which one has to look into. One is the combination of solid public investment in science, because that attracts also private investments, because companies feel that there is a government who cares, where people are being trained, etc. The second answer is, I think, what John mentioned, procurement. Government should be much more active, and that relates to my comment on the missions, which could be funded from the European Framework Programme. Government should be much more active in defining that's where we want to go, and we want to have technology developed. We define the conditions, we define also to some extent the way where we go, and then let industry come. And that creates a different atmosphere in society, because it pervades to the people in society, it pervades to the universities who train people, etc. It's those sort of conditions, I think, which we have to create. And then, of course, there is something having to do with finances. The European financial system is still not as encouraging as especially the US financial system.
Well, I'm not a specialist of research management. I'm in IPCC, I'm an individual researcher, but I'm not a specialist of research management. But still, I'm wondering whether, given the size of some of the challenges we have, I highlighted one of them, I'm sure there are others, whether it would be useful to have some focusing in a similar way than when the Americans wanted to go to the moon. They focused huge efforts on a plan to go to the moon in less than 10 years, and they succeeded. Why don't we have at European level a similar plan to transform our economies in the coming decades towards an economy that doesn't need fossil fuel anymore? And that protects climate in the long term, relying on renewable energies. It's not going to happen one day to the next, I know that. But if there was a big plan, I'm sure that industry and in universities would focus their efforts probably much better than today.
I certainly think this can be a great driver. Back in the 1980s, when I was sort of mid-career in research, in one particular project in America, they were putting $100 million into improving the temperature capability of a turbine blade in a jet aircraft. That project was a total failure. But out of it came a whole industry to do with new magnets, which had nothing to do with the original project. And it drove the science forward. And nobody blamed the people that the project didn't work. It actually drove it forward. And I think this goes to having high-level things. I mean, I keep saying in the UK, who's going to build me a quantum computer? Nobody quite knows how to do it. Or who's going to do me, make me a 1.5 gigahertz NMR machine? Okay, nobody quite knows how to do it yet. Let's set some objectives. They're slightly simpler than going to the moon, perhaps. But I think these are the sort of things we need to get some, almost our industry to say, where they feel the limit is, and then we go one beyond it. Because that's what I'm told CERN does all the time. They say, what can you build me? Oh, let's go 10%, an order of magnitude better.
Exactly. I mean, to be, I mean, in the area of energy, we really want to a zero emission world economy in terms of greenhouse gases before the end of the century. We don't need to reduce by 50%. We need to go much further than that. We need to go to zero or even negative emissions before the end of the century. So it's a very clear objective, and if we could focus some of the attention on such an objective, a lot of things would happen, including in the industry probably. But I don't think that kind of constraint is clear enough yet in the minds of many leaders and many scientists even.